This is the Unstarving Musicians Podcast. I'm your host, Rapunzo. The podcast features conversations with indie music artist musicians. These conversations are intended to help other musicians be better at marketing, business, the creative process, and all the other things that empower us to do more of what we love. Make music. So, as you know, I love sharing my personal experience and the things I'm learning from other musicians and songwriters here on the podcast. And you also know that you can be privy to those learnings by joining the Unstarving Musician community. In the process, you probably also know you'll be supporting this podcast. Just go to unstarvingmusician.com to join. In doing so, you'll get an email from me usually every 7 to 10 days with tips, hacks, insights, tricks, all the things you need to know to make your music journey a little better and brighter. And you'll also get a free gift from me, a token of my appreciation for being part of the Unstarving Musician movement. Ian Salazar, my guest for this episode, recently turned 21. He's been playing guitar since he could hold one, probably starting at around age 6. He's part of 2 bands and does a bit of solo work. He's also a recording engineer and producer working from both his own home studio and as a house engineer with Redwood studio of Denton, Texas. We are acquainted by way of my friendship with his parents. His father is quite a musician and former bandmate of mine. Ian's bands include the Dallas-Fort Worth favorites Acid Carousel and Magic Taylor. Our conversation was an opportunity for me to learn about the mindset and struggles of a budding artist in today's crazy music business. It was also an opportunity for me to practice some impromptu coaching. Hopefully that was well received, and I would love to know what you think. You know where to find me if you want to give me some feedback. Making enough money is at the top of Ian's list of struggles. Surprise, surprise. I also learned that he doesn't take his solo work too seriously, and as best I can tell, this is a simple fear-based thing. It's the same fear that any experienced artist or entrepreneur faces, and that fear is one of rejection. I expect Ian will get past this in time. My impression is that he and his bandmates are somewhat haphazardly marketing themselves, also very common among experienced artists and entrepreneurs. I know I've done it, and I'm still somewhat practicing that same approach on several fronts today. I expect this will change for Ian in time as well. Hopefully he'll take this one thought away from listening back to our conversation, and that thought is, no one is going to sell your music for you. I know all too well how this goes. I've learned that the DIY musician has to spend most of their waking moments thinking about marketing and community building. I believe that much of Ian's struggles can and will be solved by building a great email list and learning how to market himself for house concerts. Ian, I am pulling for you. The world needs you to be a smashing success, and your time is now. How's that for dramatic effect? And one last note, if you've been listening to the last couple of episodes, I've been promising to shorten these, make them quicker to the punch. I wasn't as successful as I hope to be on this episode in terms of crunching it down to a smaller amount of time, but it is a bit shorter than the usual. I hope you enjoy it, and I'm still working on that for you, the listener. Here's me and Ian Salazar.
I had a show with one of my favorite musicians named Buck Meek from this band called Big Thief. I got to open up for him in Dallas, and then went and saw him in Austin because one of my best friends lives in Austin and played with me on the show, etc. So I spent the weekend in Austin and just kind of hung out and wrote some music. It was nice.
How do you know those guys?
I don't know. I don't remember how I figured out about them, but
you were a groupie at first, or what?
I would definitely a groupie, absolutely. Just I guess learning about music through the internet, how most people do these days, and you stumble upon something you like, and then somehow you become sort of close with people, which is really cool. But yeah,
you haven't have you played with him before?
No, I haven't. A lot of my friends know him. They're from New York, and so I have some friends who live up in New York that are pretty close friends with them, and especially with him. So I think that's kind of how I got the show, is just my friends being like, yeah, play with this kid. But, yeah.
Did you play with Magic Taylor or Acid Carousel, or was it you, or what? What was the deal?
This was just solo. And then one of my best friends, Bob Cummins, who's a great keyboard player, accompanied me and played with me. So it was just like a duo show when we played some of my solo songs, which was fun.
That's cool. Well, so have you recorded any of your own stuff? Like the stuff you played this weekend or other solo stuff?
Yeah. It's just under my name, Ian Salazar. I don't take it super seriously. It's just sort of like a cathartic, like I have to, there's other stuff I want to put out and want to get out of my body, but I don't know. I don't really make it known for like acid or magic or something. It's just sort of like the side thing that I do for fun.
Why does it feel so side or not so serious compared to the other things that you do?
Deep down, it's because it's like really vulnerable music. I think it's like the most vulnerable stuff I've written, and so I think like subconsciously I like push it back because I feel embarrassed. But I tell people that it's just like I don't know, not as prevalent as magic or acid.
People love that vulnerable shit, right?
I know they do, but I don't like them to know that I'm vulnerable. No, I'm kidding. But
so I see that Songs About Love and Shit, Volume 2. Was there a Volume 1, or were you just being cheeky and saying Volume 2?
There was a Volume 1, but it's only like 3 songs. It's on SoundCloud somewhere. But I wrote it a long time ago, and it was sort of like a project you do for like your girlfriend or something, and it's just like a silly little name, Songs About Love and Shit. And so Volume 2 is kind of like, I don't know, it just seemed fitting to call it Volume 2, which is, I guess it's a little tongue in cheek, but there was a Volume 1, but it's not my best work, and so I don't like put it out there for the public eye.
And what's the scoop with Virginia, which I guess was a single that you put out this year?
Yeah, that's a new song. It's about this cat that I adopted and I kind of fostered. I no longer have, but just like the sweetest little cat in the world. And then like the day we got her, me and one of my best friends, I had my guitar and I was just like, she was really shy and like she would be hiding under tables and stuff and wouldn't come out. And so I kept like playing this chord pattern and I was like, yeah, that's kind of cool. So I like recorded it on my iPhone and, sang a melody like off the top of my head. And then, ended up writing a whole song out of that just because I thought it was funny. And then at the very end of the song, you can actually hear like the voice memo of me playing it. And then like you can hear the cat in the background. So the cat's name is Virginia. That's the song title. So
I look forward to listening to both of these. Did you produce them yourself?
I did just because I can.
Yep.
But yeah, I did just did the recording and some of the mixing, but nothing fancy.
And so you're as a engineer, producer, if I can call you that. I don't know if you call yourself both of those things, but I've seen your studio in Arlington.
It's called the Acid Pad.
The Acid Pad. Okay, so that's the current name of your studio. And then it looks like you're also working for Redwood Studios in Denton. Is that right?
Then yeah. I'm sort of one of their house engineers, and then when I'm not their house engineer, I'm like their intern. So
okay, coffee boy.
Yeah.
I saw that. How's that? Do you like working with? Yeah, they're not going to listen to this. So you can say whatever you want. So I'm just kidding.
Oh, I adore it. They're so mean. No, they're the best. I'm so fortunate to be able to work there. It's with the band Midlake. I don't know if you or any of the listeners are familiar with the band Midlake, but it's the drummer Mackenzie Smith and the guitar player Joey McClellan from Midlake, and they're some of my heroes. Like I grew up listening to Midlake and grew up listening to their music, and so they're the coolest dudes, and they're so nice. And they gave me a shot to be an intern when I was like 19. So I'm really, really fortunate to be able to work there and do that. So,
how old are you now?
I'm 21. I just turned 21 about a month ago.
That's what I thought. Well, so I believe you're my second youngest guest. I actually had this gal who was I had this gal who was a teenager who is a Disney radio artist. And then I've had one of my guests, another female, is in her 20s. She's feeling older now. She's 30. She's from a band of sisters, and
Really?
yeah, they're amazing. I got to find their name before we get done here. I'm gonna look it. I'm blanking at the moment, but I'm gonna look it up. I'd love to hear what you think of them. But I got an introduction to the keyboard player, who's I think now third youngest artist I've had after you being second now. But let's see. Her band is called. She's Hannah Hallbrook. Her band is called Shell, Shel, which is the first initials of the four sisters. But it's pretty cool. It's very super vocal, and they're very eclectic in what they do. There's a little bit of country and alt stuff going on, but they have jazz influences and pop, and it's pretty nuts. Okay, so I want to dig into. So you're 21. You're doing a couple engineering gigs. One of them your own. I know you're doing a little engineering and production for some of your local pals there in Dallas, Fort Worth. When did you? How long has it been since you sort of played your first professional gig?
I guess I was in a cover band when I was maybe 11 or something, and we played a show and had a lot of people come out. I guess my mom's birthday. I think you were there. My mom's 40th.
Yeah.
I don't know if, I think that was the first gig I played where I got any kind of money. And I think I was 10 at that point. And it was terrible. We sounded terrible, but we were all 10 years old. But I think that was the first gig where I got money. I was like, oh wow, and it was $10, but still you get paid for this. That's pretty cool.
I can pay for my gas. Oh, no, you didn't have a gas.
Yeah. No.
So, and how long were you in Acid Carousel or Magic Taylor? Which one came first?
It kind of came at the same time. Magic Taylor as a concept I've had for a little bit, probably since the very end of 2016 or the very beginning of 2017. Excuse me, as a concept. But as an actual band, we didn't play our first show until about September or October of 2017. But Acid Carousel, I've known those dudes pretty much forever. We met at this school called Sound Sounds in Dallas. Mm-hmm. It was just a music lesson place, and it's just really, really great place. And they were in a band, and then that band broke up, and then I was in a band, and then my other band broke up, and then I was asked to jam, and they said, do you want to play keyboards in our new band? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then the bass player didn't show up, so I hopped on bass for the practice and learned a couple songs, and then the rest is history. And so that must have been February or March of 2017 when I finally joined.
Okay, so pretty new. Speaking of this, now you're talking about your multi-instrumentalism. I kind of remember the first time your parents told me that you were playing in a band. I think you were playing drums. So I know you play drums. I've seen you on video. I haven't even gotten to sit in an actual room and hear you play, but I know you play bass. I think of you as more of a guitarist than anything, but you might tell me otherwise. And you also play sax, and you play keyboards apparently.
I'm a hack as a keyboard player. Not very good at all.
So what is your first instrument in your mind? What's your favorite?
Guitar, definitely guitar. That's sort of that's my main squeeze. That's when I need to write something, I always pick up a guitar. It's just it's the most expressive instrument to me, probably because that's what I learned on, and that's what I sort of grew up playing, and then branched out and decided I can play this and I can play this too. But when you boil it down, it's that's my love.
I figured. I think just about anybody who plays guitar and some other instruments, that guitar is the thing. Yeah,
it makes sense.
That's cool. When did your dad have anything to do with you learning, or did he kind of turn you loose or let you do your thing with other people when you first started learning?
Well, seeing my dad play videos of him playing in Elroy or Pew 38 or whatever band it was, that totally made me want to play guitar. And then seeing Billy Page from Led Zeppelin play, that totally made me want to learn. And so he definitely had an impact in me starting. And then when I first started trying to play, he pointed me in the right direction. But as some people will tell you, like, learning from a family member isn't always easy. I don't know why that is. But, yeah, it was just one of those things where he taught me as much as I could possibly be taught from him. And then it was like, all right, so you got to go learn on your own. And then, oh, well, I want to learn about jazz. Or I want to learn about this. So I go to an actual instructor. But I always still come to him for advice, like whether it's with guitar or with recording or anything. It's just like, you think this is cool, or what do you think about this? How'd you do this? And he's always like right there to help. So never really stopped.
Yeah, that's cool. He has I guess a mass catalog of experience in his head and life.
Absolutely.
On both fronts, from education and practical experience and everything. So now, I want, and if I'm going to get into a line of question that might sound like I'm picking on you a little bit, and I don't want to be, but I've been curious about the bands on a kind of a marketing front, what you guys do, what you don't do. What I see is I see you guys playing a lot, and I'm glad to see you're putting your music out there, but can you talk to me a little bit about, and I don't know where it starts for you, if Acid Carousel is sort of the epicenter of anything marketing, or it's the other way around, or they're both kind of the same, but can you talk a little bit about what you guys are doing to get yourselves out there? What are you struggling with?
I don't do a ton of the marketing for Acid Carousel. I know that both Magic and Acid Carousel work with the same agent that books our shows and kind of gets our name out there, which is really nice because I don't have to worry about it. You know, I just have to worry about writing songs and making sure that we sound good. But for Acid, a lot of it is just getting paid enough. I think that's what we're struggling with. It's just like getting paid enough for the amount of work we're doing, because we're traveling to Austin like every week at this point to play shows, and we're going on tours a lot now and stuff. And so it's like making sure we're getting paid. We're at that weird sort of gray area where we're doing a ton of work and a ton of playing and traveling, but we're not at the point where we can get like a big guarantee yet. And so we're getting plenty of shows. It's not a problem, but it's just getting paid, I guess. And with Magic, a lot of it right now is like getting our music heard by people, because if you're in Acid Carousel, like me and my bass player John, who's the frontman in Acid Carousel, we both play bass in each other's bands. It's weird because we're always kind of looped into that. Oh, you guys are in Acid Carousel. It's like, yeah, we are, but this is our other band. You know, like these are the other songs we write. Which I'm not complaining at all. It's very cool that I'm able to be recognized and like people can put two and two together, and I love being in Acid Carousel. But it is a little like, I don't know, it weighs on you a little bit when you're like, well, am I ever going to be like known as like, oh, this is Magic Taylor, not like, oh, this is Ian Salazar from Acid Carousel's new project. Like, I don't, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And again, I don't mean to complain, because it's a very like first world problem, but
first world musician problem.
Yeah, it really, like, oh man, it sucks that people know my name. Like, oh damn, that sucks.
How do you feel when, how do you feel hearing this from me, that the idea that you should be marketing yourself, Ian Salazar, as a brand, so that if you want Magic Taylor to be sort of a separate, noticeable thing, it can be. What do you think of that, or how does that make you feel?
I've definitely been told that by the agent of both Acid and Magic. He's trying to like market me as an individual, and so that's something we're working on. But I don't know. I think I'm like I don't know. I don't like the attention that much. Just silly, but it's a little like, you know, why me? Why not someone else? But if that makes any sense,
it does.
I don't want to. I don't want to like put all the focus on me. Like I'm just the guy. It feels weird.
Yeah, but by the same token, you could more control. I guess it's going to sound a little cheesy, but kind of control the destiny of the music that you choose to be part of.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
that's a good idea.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised you haven't heard it before. I don't know if you've heard this before, but your agent is only going to help you so much. From what I see from talking to so many people on this podcast and observing, the business is kind of weird. You're growing up in a definitely a changed time, and you'll see it change some more for sure with regards to the music business. But yeah, they are all hustling their own craft, whether it's because on behalf of their band that's their pet project, or in a lot of cases with these guys that I talk to, it's as a solo artist. And that's just kind of, I had someone say it's unfortunate in a way that as music artists, we spend as much or more time on our laptop as we do on our instrument, because the whole like social media and all these other things that you have to deal with. But I mean, I know you're not going to tell me, or any other musician is not going to tell me that they want more people to hear their music and they would like to make a living doing it. So yeah, that's the way.
Yeah, definitely.
So, okay. Well, I was curious. And it sounds like Magic Taylor, it's kind of falling on you with the help of an agent, you and your other friend who plays bass also, to be kind of the marketing minds there. What about in Acid Carousel? Is there a member of that band, or is it the same guy from Magic Taylor that kind of drives what marketing efforts you do have going?
I mean, we kind of all play into it. We're very fortunate enough to have a lot of photographers come out and take pictures of us, really without us like paying them or asking them to do it, and they take great photos. And so that's sort of our marketing. We usually on Instagram post photos from shows and then talk about our next shows or something like that. It's really like the marketing for Acid Carousel is really easy because we don't have to hire anyone to come out and take photos. They just do. And then we say, oh, these are amazing. Thank you so much. We'll post these and give them some exposure, and also helping our marketing and helping our branding by posting sort of the same style of photo over and over again. So we all kind of help out, but it's mostly this guy named Gus, who is the other front man, kind of the Lennon to the McCartney of John. But again, we all sort of take reign every now and then. So.
Well, that's good. I have always contended that as a musician, why not? There's so many, of you. Why not look to be involved with other people who can help contribute to that front? And it sounds like that's kind of what you got going on. So that's good. That's good to hear.
Yeah, I used to be super like closed to the like collaboration of having other people. Like, oh, I can do it all myself, so I should do it all myself. And I did that, and I was like, yeah, it's not worth it. It's not worth it anymore.
Yeah, and especially with as much as you do like to play, and given that you're a songwriter as well. And you guys, so Acid Carousel is a highly visual band, so that's, I can see why photographers like you guys is.
Yeah.
What about Magic Taylor? Is it as visual on stage as Acid?
I think because Acid Carousel is so visual, I don't want it to seem like I'm taking from Acid Carousel, and so we definitely move around on stage a lot, but we're not as crazy and wild. It's not as much of a wild show. It's more like let the music speak for itself. Because Acid Carousel is crazy, and we are lively, and there's so much energy. But sometimes the music suffers, I feel, in that setting. And so in Magic Taylor, I want it to be like the music is like solid, like so pristine. We practice every week, and we just grind these songs to where they're not perfect, but they sound really good. They sound like we worked on them, and they sound really tight. And so I try to let the music speak more for itself in Magic Taylor and not worry so much about the performance, which, some people get and some people don't, but I just didn't want it to be like, oh, I'm just getting acid sloppy seconds, I didn't want to do that.
No, I get it. I wouldn't have thought it, but I completely understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
They're just different type of projects, which is cool.
Yeah, and the music in Magic Taylor is way different too. It's more like it's like a lighter shade of like psych folk or freak folk, whatever you'll call it. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit like dream pop. I don't really know what we are, but it's different. It's different enough to where it makes sense to not do the same thing as well. So,
Well, you guys, I'm browsing through some photos. You guys look pretty visual as well. I guess not having seen either one, I can see where Acid Carousel is a little more intense with regard to the onstage visual, but the other band appears to be pretty visual too, which is nice.
I do like visual, but yeah.
Yeah. It looks like at least one of the bands does house parties. I see some, just kind of looking at some timeline photos. Are you familiar with house concerts where you have like a listening room and you more scaled back? It's not usually like a band thing, but usually 1 to 3 musicians, a lot of times acoustic, not always, but it's really just like a listening, almost theater style. Have you heard of them?
Is it like the So Far events?
Well, I think that they're definitely trying to do that, but yeah, in a way it is, because those are listening rooms. So I have an episode coming out. This gal I've been chasing for a long time. Her episode comes out this coming Friday as we speak, and her name is Shannon Curtis, and she used to do the grind of going out to clubs and touring and trying to build her audience that way, and then she stumbled upon doing a house concert, and then the following year she decided to try and weave in house concerts onto her ensuing tour, and they did so well she's completely abandoned the whole club and cafe scene in favor of house concert tours. And it is all here's another thing that's unique about her. So there are in Austin and Houston and San Antonio, for instance, near you, there are hosts that will have maybe 10 of these a year or 6 of them a year in at their home. But with Shannon, she doesn't target those people. She goes directly to her loyal followers who are part of her email list and on social, and they host her show. So they're the nice thing about this for her is they're intimately familiar with what she does and they're supporters. So she's able to sort of really better orchestrate a tour. And I bring it all up because I'm thinking, I know your versatility and probably that of maybe a couple of the guys that you play with as well, that it is an avenue that you could easily pursue that resolves a lot of the money issue and also gives you another creative outlet, because they're such stripped down shows, like maybe like the one that you did over the weekend where you were playing with just a couple of you. And here's the thing, the rooms are literally listening rooms, and when you do it right, and I'll have to share all this stuff with you after the show. I hope you'll take a serious look at it. But
of course,
they're a real opportunity to build your email list and of people who are really interested in what you're doing. And when you do it for just a short while, you'll grow kind of a database of followers who, like with Shannon, can actually support these types of tours for you. And like for you guys who love to play live at maybe club venues and other theaters, you could sprinkle them in to maybe some of these small tours that you're doing and resolve a lot of the money issue and give you a little more freedom to do the things that you want to do, and I think have a really good time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, please do send me that stuff. I'd love to check that out. I've been itching to do something like that solo, just do a big East Coast tour by myself or with one other person, just fuck it, what the hell. So that sounds amazing.
Well, I love that you I was really thinking of you. I know you, and I know your folks, and I know you're very talented, so I know you could totally do it. And I think you would. The other thing that might happen is you're going to find a really broad range audience. So you'll obviously have a young audience that would be attracted to doing something like this to support you. But I think that you'd also find an older audience too, which maybe you don't have now. I'm not sure, but it could be interesting to watch. So yeah,
absolutely.
I will definitely put all that stuff in your hands, and loved it. I mean, I've talked to several artists about it. I think not having done it myself, I think I understand about as much as one can possibly understand about doing it. I may do them actually where I live. I may bring some artists from the States. That
would be amazing.
To Panama, to do some there, because we have a good setting to do it in where we live, and I'm sure they can make a little mini vacation out of it. So
yeah, there you go.
So what about more of your original stuff? Do you have plans to work on anything that is just Ian Salazar, or are you already doing so?
I have a couple of solo songs under my name that I'm going to put out pretty soon. I don't know when. I'm not sure if like I have enough songs. You know, it's sort of one of those things where I don't really do this with any other project, but with my solo stuff, I kind of record it as I write it. And then when I feel like, okay, this feels like something that's complete, I can put it out. I guess this is with the exception of Love and Shit Volume 2, which I wrote and recorded in 2 weeks. Like now after that, I'm sort of like writing it and recording as I go. And so I have like 4 or 5 songs that I've written and recorded over the past like 6 months that I'm just kind of sitting on, figuring out when I want to put out. But that'll come out sometime soon, probably before the end of the year. But Magic Taylor is working super hard. We have like a 4-song EP coming out, and then an album that we've recorded at the same time that's going to come out after. But the EP is just full of songs that sort of didn't fit the vibe of the album, but that we really liked. And so we're going to put that out, and then the album is like sort of like a mock concept album, if that makes sense. I don't want it to seem like it just follows a narrative essentially, but it's like, it's very loose, and it's not like this serious, like conceptual thing. But, yeah, that's going to come out. I don't know when, probably sometime in 2019, but, we're hoping to kind of see what the EP does. And then if anyone likes the EP, we'll be like, well, we have an album in the can. And so we've talked to a few people about doing vinyl and stuff. So we'll see what happens. But that's when I'm really like sort of putting my eggs where I'm putting my eggs right now.
I wanted to ask you, as we're talking about songwriting, what are your, assuming you have some obstacles to that are kind of fall into the creative category where, you know, maybe things aren't happening as fast as you want, be it the writing and getting it, you know, quote unquote pressed for release. But what are the big challenges for you personally when it comes to the creative aspect?
Just finding balance, really, and not trying too hard to write something cool. And I find myself a lot of times like having writer's block, or being stumped on a part, or just being stumped on if I really want to write a song and I just can't come up with anything. But those are things that, I don't know, I used to be like, man, I can't write a song, like I'm not meant to do this. And then everyone I've talked to that I've respected, like, oh yeah, everyone deals with the exact same thing. So it makes me feel like a little better, but it's still not fun to sit down and just be totally stumped, or like not be able to write lyrics or something. But I think finding balance is probably the most challenging thing. It's the biggest struggle, like finding balance. I feel like you have to have balance in order to create effectively. Finding that balance, and I don't really know what that means either. Just finding the balance between writing and not writing, or this and this, or whatever it may be. Just have to find some sort of balance between what you're doing. That's probably the biggest struggle I have.
Do you have any, speaking of balance, and I think I know what you mean, it's like sort of all the other things that you're saying yes or no to in your life, or that you're committing yourself to, but do you have any regimens where writing is concerned? Like, do you set aside any specific periods of time for writing, or do you kind of just wait for inspiration, or is there any routine to it at all?
I wish there was, but there really isn't. I go through phases where I can write 5 songs a day. They all might be terrible, but and then I go through points in time where I don't write any. And one of those things, like it's kind of like a natural balance, I guess. Like I'll be really into producing, and then I won't really focus on songwriting, and then I'll get really into songwriting and recording, and I won't worry about producing as much. I'll worry about recording myself and finishing these songs. I guess there is a natural balance there. I don't know if that's like a subconscious, like I'm doing it to myself, or if it's just the world and the universe. But every regimen is sort of like happens, it falls into place, and then I finish the song.
Yeah, I understand. I asked because, and I don't know if you've heard this before, but I got into the I'm always having to write stuff, and not music, but I'm always having to write stuff. And I've written a book, and I'm always having to write for the blog. And
that's great, by the way.
Thank you. I'm always having to write for the blog, and I'm always having to write to email lists. So it feels definitely like, it's not only an opportunity, but an obligation to try to be creative. So I guess what I was getting at is that or what I wanted to share is that because I plan to write another book, and I've heard a lot of different great quotes about writing or creativity, and mostly about writing, and particularly with writing books. But it's the same to me. It's the same. Like when I realize when you're writing a song, there's the music element, but you're still it's a creative thing. But I'd heard, and this one really stuck to me. One of my favorites is, excuse me. Every writer has to write 10 shitty pages a day just to get one, or maybe it's like 100 pages a day. So the point being, like, you have to just go through and write those 5 crappy songs, until
but you have to keep going. Yeah, absolutely. Not everything you do is going to be great. That's why it takes bands like 3 years to make a record, and I think a lot of that is due to just like the insane touring schedule that a lot of bands have put on. But, some of my favorite songwriters, it's like, it takes them a long time to craft these like really great, like 10 songs,
Sure.
And I'm like, did you really write 10 songs in a year? And it's like, well, you probably wrote 10 really good songs in a year. And that's why you're touring and selling a ton of records right now. But yeah, I guess learning that, like, you have to write the bad shit in order to get like the good shit. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was hard because I wanted everything to be good, but I had to learn sort of the hard way that it doesn't always happen like that. And no matter what, like, just finish the idea, record it if you want to, just like get it out of your head and complete it. And you never have to worry about it again. Then the next idea will move up. It's like, I guess it's like a shark, when sharks lose their teeth, like they have like 4 or 5 in the back that just like move forward, and take the place of the last. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like that,
Yeah. And I'm sitting here remembering that I relate to all of this in a different way. So I've been, talking about for many months setting up basically a home studio where I can do video and record some drum playing that I can put out on Instagram, and also get myself set up so I can do some collaborative recording, with friends wherever they are, but from home. And there's a lot of different things I've let get in the way, and I continue to let get in my way. And I was also thinking about another singer-songwriter who's been doing it for a lot of years, who lives close to you. His name's Lanny Flowers. And he's been working on his current album. I mean, we were just talking about all these roadblocks or challenges he's run into. He happens to have a couple of the busiest musicians in Dallas-Fort Worth as part of the band that he's recording with. So they're always gigging, so there's the schedule challenge there. And then just life stuff gets in the way. Somebody gets sick for a while. And then, his label did this crazy, he and his label are doing this crazy marketing thing where they have him releasing a single a month for free download, leading up to the album. But none of those songs are going to be on the album. So he's managing 2 recording projects. And fortunately he had all those, a lot of really all the songs written, but he's trying to manage the project of his album. But, and I throw all that out there just to say that, and remind myself that, sometimes we just need to stop and think about 2 things. Like, what are the things I should be saying no to right now so I can get this one project off the ground and going and done, deciding what you really want to do and sort of pushing other things aside so that you can get it done. So do you find yourself doing that?
Oh, I'm really bad at saying yes. Or I'm really bad at saying no to people. I'm really good at saying yes. I mean, I love working in the studio. Like, my favorite thing, being in this environment. But I'm very, again, this is a dumb complaint. I'm very, 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 very fortunate and very lucky that so many people ask me to record them and ask me to mix their records, or et cetera, et cetera. And I love it so much, and I'm so honored that I want to do it all for these people. But sometimes it definitely grates me down a little bit, just the amount of work that I have to do. But I guess you learn the hard way sometimes, and maybe that's the best way to learn. But I've stopped saying yes to everyone because there was a point there where I was like working on like 4 different albums at the same time and trying to be in like 3 bands and like trying to have a stable relationship, and it was just like insane.
Didn't work, right?
It just doesn't work. It doesn't work out. And I got like super sick. Like I was in bed for like 4 days because I was just like, my body was like, stop, like, please stop. So I've stopped doing that, I guess, but I still definitely, I say yes to as many things as I can, because I love working and I love recording people and I love mixing for people. And I love that sort of collaborative process of, what do you want? Here's what I have. Let's come something together. But, I'm very fortunate to be able to like have basically the next like 4 or 5 months planned out in the studio. That's really awesome, but it's also a lot of work, but it's worth it. If you love
Sure.
what you do, you never work a day in your life, as they say.
Yeah, so. Sure. Yeah. And do you struggle to say no, or do you kind of have it down now? Like, no, I want to support you, no, but I can't because, or do you still struggle with that?
I definitely struggle with it. I guess because there's so many projects that I like really want to do. Like I'll hear a band live and we'll become buddies just by, I'll talk to them after the show and say, man, I really love that. And they'll probably say like, oh, you're an Asakura, so and I'll go, and then we'll just talk, and then they'll ask about recording, and they're like, we're trying to put something together, would you be down? Then if I really like their show, I'm going to say, yeah, of course. There's this band, and a lot of it's like my friends, and so I want to do their records, but it's a couple, it's just like I've been to the show and heard this band, and there's this band called Fishing in Japan, I think is what they're called. And I saw them at this house show. And there's like a group of like 17-year-old high school kids. And I was just blown away by the hooks that they were writing. And I was like, wow, like, I'd love to work with you guys at some point. So I think we're going to do their record in a couple months, but like just hearing them live, and like, it sort of like something caught my ear, and that excited me. And so I think when that happens for me, I know that it's definitely like, okay, this is something important, because that doesn't always happen. I run sound as well, and so I hear a lot of live music, and so when I hear something really cool, like my ears definitely perk up, and my brain's like, whoa, like what was that? So
very cool. Yeah, I can appreciate that.
For sure.
Well, Ian, this has been awesome. I know we're going to talk again. I got some stuff I want to share with you that I hope will be helpful, and
absolutely, I'd love that.
And I get to like look into your music. Like I was learning about it today before we got on the call, and I was like, oh yeah, there's this other band. It's the thing that you're going through all the time. I know about Acid Carousel, and I forgot about Magic Taylor, and then we're sitting here talking, and I'm realizing you've got some solo stuff you've done, and hopefully you'll be doing more of that. But I've enjoyed looking at it, and for me today was partly I wanted to sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? I wanted to look a little closer at something that I've been observing from afar, and what you and your bandmates are doing, and
sure.
And got to do that, and I hope that in some way the conversation will be helpful for you moving forward. I know it's a tough biz that can be really fun, but tough.
It is, but we still do it because we love it. So
yeah, I get it, man. All right, man. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Ciao. Hey, thanks for listening. Question for you. Are you struggling to move your music journey forward? I can help. If not personally, then by referring you to the next best available resources. Schedule a free 15-minute call with me to find out if I can indeed help you. It's easy. Just visit unstarvingmusician.com/coaching to schedule your call today. Look for links to just about everything covered in this episode in the show notes at unstarvingmusician.com/podcast. This episode was powered by the Unstarving Musician's Guide to Getting Paid Gigs, how to get booked and paid what you're worth over and over again. It's available on paperback, Kindle, and ebooks just about everywhere you can find them. It's also available as a standalone podcast called the Unstarving Musician's Guide podcast. You can learn more about the book and companion podcast at unstarvingmusician.com/book. I'd love it if you picked up a copy and would love it even more if you left a review. With much gratitude, peace, love, and more cowbell.